Okay, today's episode is titled Children as a Reward. And what better person to have on this podcast than one of my own children? Hi, Haley.
Hello again.
Right. Yeah, you've been on here a couple times, and I thought, you know what, let's have you on again today. We're on day 313, and we're on November 9th. And today's morning rinse is Psalms 126 to 130. And today's featured verse is Psalm 127, verse 3. Behold, children are a gift from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Now, if you are new to this podcast or you're just now tuning in because of our amazing guest, then basically this podcast is going to be recorded, and it basically is a daily guide to reading the Bible through in a year. So I give you a morning rinse, which is, if you follow the plan, those are the chapters of the Bible to read in order to follow the plan. And then I pull out a featured verse, and then we talk about that featured verse. And sometimes I have guests on, and most of the time I talk about it with myself and you. and it's based upon my book called Rinse, Reflect, Repeat. And when I was writing today's specific devotion, I was actually writing from the home of my oldest daughter, Haley, who is on here right now. She lives in Dallas with her husband and what we call my first son-in-law, Dre. And Haley was about 5 years old when I first grasped the power of today's featured verse. And now, at the moment that I was writing this daily devotion back several years ago, she actually had a 5-year-old. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your kids right now, Haley?
Yeah, so I have four. My oldest is 9. Her name's Heaven, and then I have 7-year-old who is Autumn, and then we have a 3-year-old Aspen and 2-year-old Olive. So life's very busy, but yeah, that's those are my kids.
Yeah, amazing. Well, during the moment that I really started honing in on this Bible verse and grasped the power of it, I was soaking in that message years ago, and I asked God to help me see you as a reward. And I remember asking God that question. And now it's super cool to be a grandmother of your children, and to be able to have the heart to see my grandchildren as a reward as well. And rewards come in various forms. I mean, rewards can be a gift, they can be a medal, they can be a bonus at work, they can be compensation, a trophy, some sort of prize. And so, speaking of prizes, Heaven does get those medals, right? Even at the young age of 9 and even younger.
Yeah, she is a competitive gymnast. Has been since she was 5. She started gymnastics when she was 4, and then started competing when she was 5. And she has big goals, big dreams. She wants to go to the Olympics. She wants to get a D1 scholarship. And so, yeah, she competes very actively and gets medals. And yeah, it's a huge part of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's been a quite interesting journey as a grandma to watch the dynamics of a grandchild or even a child have that kind of aspiration early on. She was so young when she was just so focused on that one specific thing. It was like her thing, and your other children too have aspirations. There's just something interesting about how she has these rewards and trophies, if you will. And I bring all that story up because this is how God views his children, as a reward, as a trophy, as a prize, and how we should actually view all of God's children as well. I mean, we all have children in our lives, some way, shape, or form. Even if you are not a mother, there are children all around our lives, whether whether that's from our own womb or from someone else's womb. We all have some kind of children around us, regardless of who the birth parents are. We all have access to the younger generation. And if you don't have children of your own, if you're watching this and you're listening, you might maybe be an aunt, or you might be an uncle, you might be a teacher, you might have friends who have children. But whatever the case may be, then the assurance that God sees children as extremely valuable, and therefore we should too. And I thought that it would be great to have you on here just to talk about what it's like to be a mother and to view your children. You've got one child, that we talked about that gets, in this competition, and she ranks very high in pretty much every competition that she's at. She ranks very high. And then you've got other children who've got all different types of personalities. So how is it like to take a kind of bird's eye view and look at all of your children as just each one of them are different, and each one of them have their own aspirations, and you've got 4, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. And I will say too that I think there's a difference between getting a gift, right? Like when you're gifted something, you're not expecting it and you don't have to do anything for the gift. So like when we're thinking about children being gifts, like God gives them to us not because we've done anything worth having this gift, but because he believes that we deserve it. And so there's a little bit of a difference when you're talking about that aspect and then you're talking about like a trophy, for instance, because and one thing that Heaven is, she's kind of learning is that she's at a stage now where she doesn't just show up to a competition and get a trophy or get a medal. Like she has to earn the medals, she has to place, like, and with that comes hard work, it comes discipline, it comes, a very strong mentality that she's having to build at a very young age. And so I think there's like different aspects of it, but yeah, she's much different than like our 7-year-old who's like, she plays basketball, but she's just there to have a good time. Like she just wants to play because she loves it and not really has any big goals or, whatnot. She just loves being a part of a team, thinks it's fun, like, and so, teaching her that, the value of hard work. And if this is something she wants to be great at, she does have to put work into it, is different than, her just showing up and expecting to get a trophy or expecting to, whatever. But when we're talking about gifts, like I had 2 of my kids outside of marriage and my first 2, and the gift that they were into our lives was life-changing. I mean, it was not really something that you can prepare for at a young age. And children in and of itself are a gift. They can be they can save someone. Honestly, I've heard so many stories of people who have gotten pregnant and their child literally saved their life, and they were in such a horrible position or situation, and their child brought them out of darkness and whatnot, and really helped shape their perspective on life. And so I think our 2 oldest girls definitely helped my husband and I kind of shape what we wanted to focus our life on and the direction that our life was going. And so yeah, they were definitely our gift as young 20-something-year-olds.
Well, and when you talk about children and how you've heard stories, you can just say, you actually brought me out of a very dark place, and I've called you my hero forever. It's what your name means. Your main name means heroine, which is a female hero. And, and so am an example of you literally saved where I was going. You helped me change the direction just by the mere, getting pregnant when I was out of wedlock as well. And so children are not inconvenient. I hear people once in a while, on social media or whatever, they'll talk about that, or just how they may not value a child, or even a baby inside the womb. But children are not invaluable. They are not a nuisance. They are not insignificant. They are a high prize. And, you know, like what you were saying, there is a difference in the prizes that, heaven is getting, because she has to work for them. But God sees these babies and children as so special to him. They are our reward, and your gift, like what you were saying, your first two girls definitely were a gift to you and Dre during that time. So it's very cool to read this verse. And, when I was first understanding it, behold, children are a gift from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. And so it's just so cool to see that in scripture, children are a gift. They are a reward to us.
Yeah, for sure. And I will also say too that in talking about children, they are, which it sounds obvious, but I think sometimes as parents we forget that like they're actual like human beings and like have their own thoughts and their own feelings and their own way of doing things, and like having getting the opportunity to mold and to shape them into going out into the world and being good humans and having good morals and character. And and that's one thing that I appreciate about what heaven is doing with gymnastics is it's teaching, not only is it teaching her hard work, but it's teaching her the value of character, the value of teamwork, the importance of wanting something and working hard for it, and not just expecting to show up and get it because she's there. And so she's learning all of these fundamental things that she'll carry on throughout in life. And so getting the opportunity to watch your kids kind of grow and into their own being is really special and cool. And seeing, like you mentioned, seeing all their different personalities, the way that they do things. Like Heaven is dirty. She is not a clean child. She's not my cleanest child, I'll say that. She tends to do things like, if I give her an instruction, she'll do it like half of the way and won't finish the job. Whereas Autumn, I don't even really have to ask her to do much. She just does it. Like she's clean, she's responsible, she kind of like, I don't have to tell her 75,000 times to do a task. Like I tell her once and it's done within 5 minutes. Like, whereas Heaven is a little bit different. And then you have Aspen, who he kind of flies by the seat of his pants and is very spontaneous and wild. He's just like your typical boy. Like he loves, being aggressive, and that's how he shows love and affection. And then you have Olive, who's like, she's like our independent she's like the most independent but needy child. Like she wants to do things on her own so bad, but she needs that somebody to do it with her. Like and my goodness, if she does not like something, the whole neighborhood will know. Like, and so they're all so different and unique. And I love, I remember we were at your house when the girls they were little. They were probably, I think Autumn was like 2 maybe, and Heaven was like 3 or 4. We were at your house playing in the backyard, and I took a picture. I still remember it to this day. I took a picture of them like playing in the backyard, and you had Heaven, who was like in the mud, in the grass, like living her best life. And then you had Autumn, who was sitting in a chair very quietly, just observing the chaos, like the dogs running around. And I took this picture as just a beautiful reminder that like, they're completely their own people. Like they're their own people, and it's not my job to make them into something that they're not. It's my job to help cultivate what God has already instilled in them, like those beautiful traits that they already have. It's just my job to help them find it, and them, to build on that. And I love it. It's being a mom and having kids is like the hardest, most rewarding thing I think any parent will go through. But they're such a gift and a blessing. And anybody who thinks otherwise is crazy.
Yeah, I love some of this stuff. I mean, that is so funny to how you were describing all of your kids. I can totally see all of that every time I'm around them, even if it's months, um, months away from when I haven't seen them in a while. I can totally see those various aspects of their personalities, exactly how you are shining it forth. And yeah, we all need to see children as rewards. And when someone doesn't, it's such a heart-wrenching thing to not see that. Yeah. So I think that, today's challenge to dig deeper is really, if somebody is listening or watching this, basically, and you're new to this podcast and you haven't even listened before, basically every day we talk about one of the featured verses and then take that verse and make it applicable to our daily lives every day. And so there's a challenge every single day, and then a reflection where you'll write down kind of your day and what you process during the day. So the challenge to dig deeper and to make the scripture applicable is to ask God to help you see children valuable as he sees them. Oftentimes we, there's that saying that says that God loves our children more than we do. And yet we can still get a glimpse of how he sees children as a whole, like our children and other children, how valuable he sees children. And if we are not feeling that passion, if we're not feeling that, I don't know, that care or that love for them, or if we just need a little bit of a boost, we can always ask him to increase that love for children to an even greater capacity than what we have, even seeing those children as a reward or a prize. And I think that it's a good challenge for all of us, especially if we have that neighbor who's got a kid that might not necessarily behave the way that we would hope that the neighborhood kid would behave, or if there's a friend at school that is causing your child to have anxiety of some sorts or get nervous, remembering that they are a reward as well from God is so important. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I would also say too that I don't mean to take like a dark turn, but I will also say that I recognize that a lot of times we're not in a place where, if we get pregnant or whatnot, that it can be hard. It's not always easy. And I thought we were done after our third, and 7 months later found out we were pregnant again. And I had a really hard time, and I had to go to therapy. I literally, and I had to do a lot of praying, and, but it always turns around. And even when we're in those dark places and it doesn't feel like a good thing, it always will be. So I just wanted to throw that nugget out there, because I know it's easy for us all to be like, oh, children are a gift. And then someone, is really struggling as maybe like a single parent, as, you knew, and, or maybe they're in a situation where they don't think that they can have a, should have a child. And, so just recognizing the hardship and the pain that some people are going through, like I recognize that, but the Lord is always there through those dark times, and children are a gift even in the situation that may not feel great.
Well, yeah. And, honestly, I can totally relate to you. how you were feeling when you got the news that you were pregnant 7 months later, because I remember how I felt when I got pregnant, and with you, and just, it is a challenge, especially if you're going through something like that and you aren't prepared and you're not in the role model situation. I mean, we were both single moms, or, well, not really. You always had Dre, and I had, lived alone with you, and that never was the case with you. But getting pregnant out of wedlock is something that we have the same somewhat story on. And I remember how that felt. And you're right. To remember that there are some moms out there, that are going through something like that can be difficult, and to encourage them as well in this moment, that their child is a gift, it is a reward, and to encourage them, even though they might be going through that. I would say, too, when we're thinking about our children or someone else's child, and in the midst of the challenge today of just asking God to really view our children or our future children or somebody else's child as a reward, in the efforts to love those children even more. Part of the challenge today would be to maybe do something special for either your child or children or someone else's child or children. And doing something special could be just maybe send a note, or maybe offer to take a friend's child or children out for a special trip for ice cream, or buy a little trinket or a gift for them. Just do something tangible for that child or children to let them know how special they truly are. And I think that once our hearts get even more and more and more closer to how God views children, and then we start to act on that, it can change people's hearts. It can change a child's day. It can change a child's week. It can change a child's perspective on something, But sometimes we have to act our way into feelings, and doing something tangible for a child, especially if we're a little grumpy, or, we have had a hard day. Doing something tangible like that and acting our way into feelings is important, I think. So as people are walking through today's devotion, when they're pulling out, if you're pulling out your devotional and you're pulling out your journal and you're having your evening reflection, I think it would be good to reflect on, maybe write down what you did for this child or children in your life. What did you do for them today? Did your heart change? How did it go? How did they receive your act of love? Because a lot of times people have that, the love language, and sometimes kids will have the love language of gift receiving. Other times their love language is acts of service, maybe helping them clean their room, or offering to, do something for them. So those are just, different ways. And so writing it down and who you did it for is a way to remember and to make this scripture applicable, always remembering that they're a reward, they're a gift, they are something special from God.
I love that. That's actually, so we had one of our neighbor kids. They're like good friends of ours, but I'll be honest, she's really annoying to me. But she's sweet, but yeah. And I told Autumn that I would take her to go see the new Wicked movie in theaters, and this other girl really wants to see it too, and her parents don't want to take her to see it. And so I might have to invite her to go with us as my little challenge.
That's a big challenge. Yeah. And I love that. I love that one of the things that you do is you do hard things when you're growing. I mean, you self-reflect. I've had you on here before and you've self-reflected, and you have you always like listen and know kind of what you're supposed to do. So it's like, yep, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to take this kid for this movie. Yeah. And I don't know. I like it, the tangible challenges that are in here, just to remember that, it's not always about self-reflection when you're making the Bible applicable for our lives today. Sometimes it's doing something tangible for ourselves, like buying a little trinket, like how I challenge people to buy a little bottle that helps us remind us that we have, that God holds our tears in a bottle. Sometimes it's buying something else tangible for ourselves as a reminder of other things, or other times it's doing something tangible for other people. That's how we make the Bible applicable for our lives every day, is just acting it out.
Yeah, I was as you were saying that, in my head I was thinking, like, a lot of this stuff, it's not even about us, it's about others, and like how we can show God's love to other people, and in the process growing and shaping our own character and whatnot.
When we're doing something tangible for other people, just like the children here, here in a few more days, I'm going to have another guest on here. We're going to talk about college age students and how that scripture is bringing forth examples of how doing something tangible for that. So you'll have to stay tuned for that, because yeah, you're right. It is not, I mean, yes, it's about our growth, because if we don't grow ourselves, if we are not growing in the word and making the Bible applicable for our lives, we're not growing. And so therefore, how can we truly get out to the world and spread God's love and make disciples, like what he is asking us to do, if we don't change? And so we first have to make that change so that God shows the light to, that he can use us to show his love and light to everyone else, because it is about him and his kingdom and his purpose for what he's trying to do. It's about what he's wanting, and the lives that are changed. He's wanting all of us to know him. And you're right. It's about him. Well, do you have anything else that you want to add to this featured verse? I love the featured verse. Behold, children are
Well,
given.
I don't know if I can add anything to the verse. I don't know if the Lord will let me do that.
So, audience, if you are watching or if you are listening, this is my daughter. This is her humor. She's so, no, not add to the verse per se, but add any more thoughts. Behold, children are a gift from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. I just love that.
Yeah, I do too. It's a good reminder, and especially, for us parents, when life gets hard and, our kids are screaming and, it feels like chaos 95% of the time. It's a good reminder that, God is shaping them into, who he destined them to be. And, he gave us the opportunity to hold them in the palm of our hand and help guide, walk them through that and find their purpose and find their God-given talents and abilities. And holding that responsibility is truly a blessing.
Yeah, it is truly a blessing. You're right. And knowing that God has given us children, and those perfect children for us is really cool as well. You've got, and you've got 4 of them, and God knew that he could trust you to handle them as a mother and Dre as a father, and that's so amazing.
Yeah, they're definitely they're the greatest blessing. They're all of, just all of them. My older girls are kind of getting to that age where we're starting to become more like friends, and or not, obviously it's still their mother, but like, you know, we can joke and we can have a good time and we can spend time together, and it's enjoyable. And, you know, and I have days where I'm not my best. And the other night I was like super overwhelmed and I was yelling at everybody and everybody was crying and me myself. And so I had to go and apologize to them. And you should have seen Dre. He like walked into the girls' room, me and Autumn just sobbing. Because I'm apologizing. She's had her feelings hurt. Like, we're just a hot mess. And, you know, and then, you know, it's so there. God knew when he gave me my kids what I needed in them and what I could provide to them, and how I would grow and be humbled and, you know, realize that they're teaching me things just as much as I'm teaching them. Like, I'm not the master here. Like, ultimately, I think that I learn more from them than they probably do from me. And it's, yeah, they're great.
That's awesome. Yeah. They're definitely a gift for sure in so many ways. And being a grandma is a whole nother level of love. It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah. Well, I hope that as the listeners and watchers of today's episode really get maybe some challenges, and maybe they will go out and do something for a small child, or you know, even their mom. Maybe this is a good indication of trying to get people to be a little more tangible out there and give out to the world some more. And again, don't forget, if you are watching and listening, that if you are doing these challenges, be sure and document them, because it is important to go back, and you'll be amazed at the things that you read in the future. You know, and the storytelling, basically you're writing your story as you are journaling, you're writing your story out, and it will be so cool for, you know, you to go back and listen to it. And if you guys don't have my devotional, there's going to be a link in the show notes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then there will be a link in the description. So thank you for coming on, Haley. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope, I don't think so. We're almost to the end of the year, though.
I
Can
know.
you believe it?
I know. And you've been editing and making sure that everything is up and running every day. And I could not have done
big
this.
Undertaking, I will say.
It was a very big undertaking. And we have the record Forever Never Now. So we have the recordings, and they'll get reposted every single year, right?
Yeah. This was an undertaking. I'm honestly impressed with us that we've lasted this long.
Well, you're the one that spurred this on. You're the mojo to my moham, or whatever. Yeah, we are very close. We're, you know, getting to the tail end side of this, and hopefully it will inspire people for many years to come with this podcast. So
I love it.
Yeah. So, all right. You want to close it out, Haley?
Till tomorrow. Keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless you.